series this year, and we have camp literally every other week this whole summer, and we have apprenticeship opportunities, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Hold on. I'm just so excited about it because I want, this is the first year that we've really been able to feel like we can open the doors, open the gates wide, and have more youth come. You know, we all are survivors of a pandemic, right? We're survivors of a plague that, you know, our ancestors may have had this experience before us, but not, you know, that was a long time ago. And so to have that experience now, we've all had to deal with challenges. And I think those of us that were isolated before were extremely isolated now during that time. But it's time to come back and relearn what it is to be together, because we as a people, we follow the Buffalo Nation, we follow that, and we are not isolated people, individuals. We belong in a herd. And that's what we're trying to reestablish here, is helping you reconnect with your traditional and ancestral skills of being a good relative, of coming and relearning if we need to sometimes, because it's been 2 years that we've had like these phones, you know, and looking at screens, right? I want to hug everybody, you know, but I can't. So we've got to have that kind of relearning, and we're all finding our way back, and we have to find our way back to each other, because that's the only way we're going to be stronger, and we're going to we'll have the support that we need to make good decisions. And reconnecting all of these things, it's like they're strands on a web, and somebody cuts it. And so we've got to find them, and we've got to reconnect each and every one. And it takes a little time, and we have to be diligent, and we have to be what we call deliberate. So here we try to be deliberate. You know, we come together and we remind each other of who is the eldest here, who is the youngest, and where do you fit in that circle? Where do you fit in that? Because whoever's older than you is someone to listen at least that much more to. You know, whoever is younger than you, you're responsible for at least that much. You know, some of us like me who are older, we're just responsible for everything. But you know, that's the way it is here, is that, you know, and we use humor. Oh my gosh, if I had to sit and talk to you and not find something silly to say, you know, I would be bored, and I wouldn't expect anyone to tune in, right? It's like, oh gosh, find something else to do. Gee. But we're so excited. There's so many things that we're doing, you know, and you know, if you notice, look behind me, we have our buffalo robe, and that symbol on that robe was given to us back in 2009, and was made by my Junta brother, Steve Tumayo. His brother had painted this robe for us, and this was gifted to us. This is a leadership symbol, and that's something that we take very seriously, because we have to help you connect all those lines to the web and really make them strong, because you're going to be tested. Every day you're tested. There's all kinds of negative elements out there in our communities, and you can find them. You can find them on your phone. You can find them in your refrigerator. You can find them in your school. You can find them in your neighbor, and even in your own house. We have Iktomi in many forms now. And we have to really think about, you know, we're tested constantly, and that wears us down. And so we want you to really think about getting engaged in a social community that's healthy. Because you can get online, and you can tell me about this more than I can tell you about all the social groups that talk about negative things, or negative challenges to do, put you at risk in harm's way, even, I mean, we wouldn't even think about dousing each other with ice cold water, with ice water, but it ended up being a challenge, right? I even thought about doing it. Crazy. I'm an old woman. I do that. I have a heart attack. I'm done, So, we see these things and we think we should do them. It encourages you, but we have to stop and think, and we have to say, gee, I need to talk to somebody up here, someone in my circle that's safe, to say, is this really a thing that I should be doing? Well, no, I mean, I shouldn't be doing that, and so that's what we're helping to recreate here. And, it's something that it's not artificial, it's real. We've been here doing this program for at least 17 years now, this specific program. We have a 10-acre campus that started out as a prairie, and we made it better and better. And we always listen to your feedback. It's like, you want this, you want that, and we're doing the best we can to create it. So now we have bees because our youth wanted it. We have bees because a friend of mine, Dave Braveheart, and by the way, he's having health problems. So, if you make some prayers for him, okay? He's over in Minnesota and he's struggling. So I really encourage you to make some prayers for him. But he came and he talked about hobby beekeeping. And the next thing I know, they're saying, well, the bees were struggling, and the youth asked him, well, what can we do? And the next thing I know, I'm ordering bees. All I know is I like honey. I like honey in my tea. That's why here, when she said honey lodge, guess what? I got a bottle right here, and it's almost half gone. That's where all my paychecks go. Hey, just kidding. But I really think that our youth lead us into wonderful places if we listen to you. And that's what we want to do, is we want to listen to you as much as we hope you listen to us. And it's a two-way street for us, always. And so when you come, we ask you to leave all those the stress and everything. We tell you to leave that backpack at the gate. Just bring your clothes, leave that backpack of stresses and struggles, leave it at the gate for us. And the thing is it's always there. You can always pick it up when you leave, right? If that's what you want to do, it's always there for you to pick up. But when you come, please try something new. Test yourself. We want you to stretch, just like that spider web, that web. It has to be tested. It has to be strong, right? So we want you to stretch yourself a little bit here and there. Stretch yourself to get to know somebody, to trust somebody, to try something new that's of your culture, of your people, that connects you to Unjimaka, Grandmother Earth. She is there waiting for us to come back, to come home. And it takes us 10 acres, and we should probably have more, because she's so important to us. That we had an ethnobotanist here that told us we had over 300 medicinal edible plants. And you know what? We need to make a relationship with each one of them. They're our relatives, that plant nation. And once we know them, they can help us and we can help them. But it's a relationship we have to get to know. I'll be honest, I don't know all 300 of them, but I'm learning. That's one of my bucket lists, man. I want to learn every one of them so I can talk to them and know what they can do for me and know what I can do for them. Because it's something that they have all kinds of fancy words. They call it stewardship. They call it, permaculture strategies. For us, it's simply an aspect of being a good relative. Let's not make it so complicated. We know what we're doing, and we're making relatives here with all kinds of things, each other, and all that Unjimaka has to offer us. And so leadership is a natural outcome of that, you know, and you feel better about yourself. You know, I started feeling better myself about being Lakota the more I knew about being Lakota. You know, I remember being in the place where someone asked me about something about my culture and I didn't know, and I really felt ashamed. We're trying here to take that away. You need to be the knowledgeable person about your culture. It's yours, it belongs to you, and you shouldn't have to pay for it, and you shouldn't have to wait for it till you go to college. You know, that's how some of us in my generation ended up going back to it. It's because we didn't find out a thing about our own culture till we went back to college, and we had opportunities to meet people that could share with us. So, you know, here's an opportunity that I hope you take. You know, we start our camps, we do programming all year long. We do weekend retreats twice a month. In fact, we're taking a group, probably 3 carloads. We're going to, if you're going to Welcoming the Thunders, we'll be there. So look me up, I have this shirt, you know, check it out and ask some questions. We'll try to bring some applications with us. But, you know, the thing is that we want to engage in all of those things with our youth. You know, it's experiencing our ceremonies is important. What would I just see in a question? What advice would I give my 15-year-old self? Oh man. You know what? I would have told myself, ask more questions. Ask more questions, because, you know, I had a grandparent that was still alive. I lost my unchi, my Lakota unchi. Oh, and by the way, I'm Sioux-ian. I gotta come out of the closet. I'm Lakota and Norwegian, so I'm teasing. Okay, don't nobody take offense. Okay, it's my dad was a blue-eyed, blonde-haired Norwegian, and my mom was Sicangu, and I lost my Sicangu unchi before I was born. But you know what? I should have asked more questions about her. I should have asked my Lakota grandpa to teach me the language. I should have. But the thing is I don't, at this point in my life, I'm not going to shit on myself. You know what I'm saying? We can't go back there. But if I could have told my 15-year-old self, it's like, ask questions. Don't just stand there. Come in and ask your elders. Get to know them. They're not scary. They don't bite. And I'll tell you, if you just ask. You know, that's just the thing. So we think we shouldn't ask because it's, I don't know what, maybe it's all Lacan or something, but hey, somebody's got to know. And you have a right because of who you are and where you come from. And you know what? That's the other thing, is that a lot of our youth don't know their family. They don't know their tioshpai, their tiwahe. You know, if you don't know, it's time to find out, because it belongs to you and no one can take that away from you. You know what? Our ancestors, all of our role models, you can't take that stuff away from you. You know, Clementine's going to have to give me a warning sign, because man, I could talk all day. So self-esteem.
You have lots of time.
Oh, we got lots of time. Okay, good. That's what I like to hear, because man, I can really talk. Hey? So, self-esteem, you know, everybody talks about self-esteem and all these ways. You can read books, you can do YouTube, you can do all these things about self-esteem, but what it boils down to is knowing who you are. You have to have that foundation. You have to know where you're planted, where you were planted. You have to know where you came from. And if you don't know where you came from, you're gonna be lost. You're going to think you belong over there, or maybe you belong over there. You're going to try something else and it won't fit. And that's why our Lakota youth, our Native youth, our Indigenous youth, they struggle. You know, and I see that because they just want to know all of the things about their culture. And people that are safe, people that can share, people that will give you an honest, if I don't know, I'll tell you, and I'll do my best to help find someone who does. That's what we do here. I don't know everything. Not everyone on my team knows everything, but we all know different things that are helpful. And what's great about what we do is it's multi-generational. You get to spend summers with people like Joseph Marshall III, Earl Bullhead, Jerome Killsmall, Karen Little Thunder, and all host of other kinds of artists like Mike Marshall. And we've had all kinds of visitors that come and share their knowledge and their experience. And we're always wanting to invite more. You know, if you're an elder that happens to be watching and saying, gee, I don't know if she knows anything about stuff, well, come over and share that with our youth. If you have something, now's the time not to hold it back. Don't hold things back. If you have a knowledge about our culture or our ceremonies, it's really important that you find places that you can share it. It's so important. And we do our best to try to, any elders that come, we do our best to take care of you, you know, so contact us and we'll help you get here. We'll have a nice place for you to stay. We want you, you know, we want elders, we want our youth, you know, that's what makes this go, really. The one thing we won't ever do is we won't have a camp more than 4 days. It's mainly because the staff want to live to see the 5th day, right? It's bigger, it's rigorous. You know, we start with the morning song at dawn, you know, as the sun's coming up over the hills. We start our day that way, in a prayerful way. And we end with the evening song with prayer. And we do things all day long. Fun things. Sometimes it's learning things, always from a cultural perspective. So one of the things that we're working really hard to do here is to incorporate more of the language. You know, having fluent speakers here, that's one of the goals that we have. Right now we're working at raising our staff's fluency level. So we're having weekly language sessions. We're doing this all for our young people because it's important that we have to pass it on in a way that is meaningful. And our focus is experiential, which means we just learn by doing. We do things, and that's how we remember. We have what we call make and take things because we need to have tangible evidence of our learning. Because when you make something and you take it home, you remember all that was talked about. You remember what the discussion was and what happened surrounding that item. And it's going to keep you grounded in knowing what you learned. You know, so that raises self-esteem. You know, you come out in 4 days thinking, oh, I want to stay, but come back because we have them. And they're all different themes, focuses. So we have our spring harvest camp where we identify plants and we learn how to make tinctures and salves and medicines for ourselves, shampoos and toothpaste, all of those kind of basic skill things that, you know, it was funny. I got to tell you a funny one. When we identified one of our important plants, and you know, one of the biggest issues during the pandemic, no toilet paper. Hey, I had kids contact me and say, hey, Marla, we don't have to worry about toilet paper because we got lots of mullet in our backyard. Yay. You know what? We're Lakota. We don't have to worry about that. We know what we got, something to fall back on, right? And I think that's such a confidence builder. Self-esteem is like, hey, don't panic. We got it covered. We got a plan B. You know, our young people need to have a plan B. You know, maybe we can't go in and change your life right now, but at some point you're going to be making your decisions for your own self. You're going to be the one in the driver's seat and you're going to say what you want to be involved in and what you don't. And you'll have the memory of all these things that are still there waiting for you. And so it'll be your choice. But you don't know what your choices are unless you've experienced them. And so self-esteem. And moving on, then we talk about success. Oh my gosh, there are so many things you can be successful at here. You know, we found the next generation quill workers. We found the next generation beaters. We found next generation gardeners or horse people or beekeepers. Oh my gosh, the thing is you just have to try it. That's the one thing we want you to stretch a little bit when you get here, is to just try something. Who knows if you're good at it unless you try it, right? You know, I'll tell you what, we got a 25-foot rock wall and I didn't know that I could do it, but I climbed it to the top. Yeah, I did it, you know? And so if I can do it, you can do it. And that's the thing, is that success breeds success. You know what? You want to be around a successful person always, because guess what? They're talking about what they did, not about what they couldn't do. And I feel like sometimes our youth are placed in positions and places where all they're told is what they can't do. And that's hard on our self-esteem. It's hard. And you know what? I feel like it weights our youth down. Look at some of our youth are walking around like this, you know, they're all weighted down by all those things they can't do. You know, by the end of 4 days, by the end of the summer, man, we have some of our youth that are standing tall and proud. They got some steel in their spine, you know, because they've learned all of these things, and hey, maybe they found out that they're good at one more thing. You know, we have a theater camp. Larissa Fasthorse is a playwright, and she comes down, and oh my gosh, I was just blown away. I'm so excited about this next year. I'm just so excited because we're having theater camp again. We found some awesome writers and some actors. Oh my gosh, I didn't know these people could act, and they can act, man, they're awesome. And so it's wonderful that you can try something out. And hey, if you're not good at it, who cares? We tried. Not everybody's good at everything, but everybody's good at something. So we just have to find out what it is, you know? And so maybe you're the one that learns how to put the teepee up the right way the first time. Hey, I want to stay with you. You know, I want to go to powwows with you, you know, that kind of thing. We do regalia making here. If you want to dance, come on over. We'll help you. We'll help you put your stuff together if that's what you need. You know, we're here to support you, and not just during camps. Excuse me. Hot water with Honey Lodge honey, a advertising break. No shame, this one. So one of the things that we, you know, when we focus on trying new things, is that you have to come, because every camp is different. There's something different that you were learning, because we follow the seasons, we follow the times, and you know, not everything is ready to bloom or harvest in spring. Sometimes it's late summer. And so there's another time that when you come, we'll learn those plants, you know, and we'll learn a little bit more. We're really excited that we have AmeriCorps Vista workers helping us. And we're really working on our Maka Okwate Owoshu, our underground garden. And we're starting seeds. We had a volunteer group that helped us clean up and get ready and get some of those early seeds started that needed to grow. We have some waglula. We have some worms that we're growing. The worms, we have two kinds of worms. That's crazy. We have waglula sha, waglula ska. We have white mealworms, and we have the red worms that we're actually making nutrients for our plants. So it could be, you know, house plants or your garden or things, and that's what we're composting. Fancy word for taking all your vegetables and feeding it to the worms so they can decompose it, and then you use that juice to come back. So there's all of those things available that we can teach you about, new things. So every year we're building, we're growing, we're trying to find more ways to have our young people live sustainably. You know, we still are able to apply for home sites like 2.5 acres on Rosebud. And I don't know where it is, some of the other tribes, but you know, you still can get a home site. And you know what? You can live sustainably on a home site. All of these skills you can fall back on to help you live sustainably when you choose to, when you're ready for that, if that's what you want to do. These are things that helps keep us grounded, help, you know, being grounded, you know, to me, that's like hugging Unchimaka. You want to keep hugging her because she provides us everything that we need, you know, and so we find new ways of appreciating her, you know, from having the being on the lake and fishing, or this year we're hoping to have, I'm going to put it out there, I'm going to make a commitment. We're really close to having bull boats, so we can do bull boat races on the lake. And if we get really good, then maybe the river, but we're going to start on the lake. And so our bull boats are really how we got across the river, the Missouri. They were made from the hide, like this one behind us, but it was made like a bowl, and we use the shoulder blades as paddles. And so we're going to have those here so that you can experience those things that our ancestors, our ways of life that our ancestors lived. And you know, we think about all the common things that we have available to us, lights and running water and all of these things. We have opportunities for you to experience what it's like, what it was like, so you truly understand the strength of those shoulders that you stand on, because you stand on, our next generation stand on the shoulders of all of our ancestors, and our ancestors were tremendously strong. They had to be, because our history is infamous. It's so infamous that we have our own state governments that are questioning whether or not they want it told. And so, you know, when we ban information, when we ban books, what are we stifling? What are we wanting to hide? I want our youth to have courageousness, curiosity, and we want them to always be thinking critically, you know, thinking full circle about all of the choices they have, thinking full circle about what they've been told. We all, as adults, we know that not everything in print, not everything told, not everything on TV is true. And especially now, you know, like never before, I think, do we question every bit of information that comes to us. Our youth are going to need to be critical thinkers, and we have to take a look at that. It's not enough to be told how to do something. You have to experience it. That's the way you know, oh, well, they told me to do it this way, but you know, it didn't really work. But what I found out, you know, that's knowledge gained, that's skill development. And so whether you're coming to make a bow with Joe Marshall this summer, or you're coming to learn about plants, to make some of your own home items, or you wait till fall and you come to learn how to hunt with respect and responsibility. There are all so many things that you can do, or maybe you just want to learn about the horse nation. We learn so much from the horses, you know. We are warriors. It changed our whole way of life when we created that relationship with the Shunkawakan. And our horses here, I must admit, they're spoiled. They're spoiled. We love them. We love them, and we know we love them, and we show it with treats and brushing them. And we want our youth, you know, a lot of people. it hurts my heart because I grew up having a horse. I can't remember a time when I didn't ride horse. And that was really, you know, I really cherish that because I learned a lot from my horse. Now they call it equine-assisted learning, and there's certification and training to do this. You know, it was kind of the school of hard knocks for me. It's like how not to fall off a horse. That's one of the first things you learn, right? But we teach safety. No, so we do. Some of us have gone through that equine assisted learning just because we want to make sure that we have the best possible environment for learning and for safety. So we have opportunities to learn with our Horse Nation relatives, and they have so much to teach. They're so good at sharing with us and putting us in our place sometimes. You know, sometimes we have to learn about that, sometimes the hard way, hopefully not, you know, but we have horses here that we get to experience that, you know, and on our campus. And we invite visitors and different horse people to come share their knowledge with us. And I really want to give kudos out to Steve Tamayo, my Hunka brother. He's the one that did a lot of research to identify over 22 different horse symbols that the Lakota used. You know, it's not just paint pretty pictures on horses. They all meant something, and the colors meant something, and where they were placed meant something. And so I really wanted to thank my Hunka brother for bringing that knowledge here so we can share that with our youth. You know, it's not something that, you know, it's also something to put in their memory. You know, we don't want to lose anything. It's like, well, what are you going to do? They're not going to ride into battle, but it's knowledge about our culture that helps provide that deeper level, you know, that deeper level of understanding our culture. You know, they talk about surface level and deep culture. This is where we're here to learn about deep culture, where you learn about the things of your ancestors, so you can tell your grandchildren someday, you know, sit around the fire like we do here and do storytelling. We all do that. Someone made it a comment. Sure, I think some of our adults could appreciate that too. You know, we've talked about having a camp for adults. If there's enough interest, we certainly would entertain that. You know, definitely. So reach out to us, let us know. We'd love to. It's kind of funny because all of us, many of our youth, we've been doing this long enough that our youth that have grown up coming every year are now our staff. And that's how we are making a transition. That's part of our sustainability planning and succession planning, is that the next generation will take this over, because unfortunately, I don't see less of a need for this. I see even more of a need, you know, to have these safe places, immersive experiences where they can kind of disconnect from the rest of the world. You can disconnect, you can recharge, and you can learn all kinds of new things about your own culture, about yourself, you know, and it's all a safe place. You know, so I think that would be great for people, a lot of people, you know. And so now we have our youth that have taken us into, you know, we have, you know, this generation of youth that wanted to learn about their culture. Some of them have followed us for their entire, you know, from 12 to 18. And now they're coming back as staff because, you know, they're saying, this is important to us. This is where I want to continue to teach the next generation. I want to be a part of it. Some have, and they're also the ones that said, okay, now that I know all of this about my culture, how do I live this way? How do I live this way? And that took us to the next step, was doing development, you know, youth development and learning about social enterprise. So we started with the honey business. As I mentioned earlier. We have started out with 3 hives. You can go, there's a Honey Lodge Facebook page, Honey Lodge website, LakotaHoneyLodge.org. And you can go to our website and find it. And we have some videos there and things about how we grew and are still growing. We actually are going to be expanding. We are looking at having regular honey lodge apprentices that are going to learn all the business from taking care of the bees and what to do with the queen bee, what to do with all the bees in the winter, because we don't send them anywhere. We keep them here over winter them. And how to split hives, how to catch a swarm. Have you ever in the summertime seen a whole big mass of bees somewhere and wondered, gee, where'd they come from? What are they doing? And what can we do about it, right? If it's in someplace they swarm in places where people really don't want them. You know, your car hood. You know, we've had people call about their car hood, you know, their backyard, by their house. You know, some people moved into houses and found that their bees were inside the house, you know, so, you know, how to be safe about moving those bees to a safe home. All of those things are skills to have. Now, were we traditionally beekeepers? No, we weren't. We didn't need to be, because everything was in balance, right? Everything, our environment was in balance. There was things there was enough predators to keep the grass eaters, and there was enough bugs to keep all the flowers healthy, and everything was in balance. Our Unchi Maka, our animal nation, are suffering right now because everything is out of balance. And so we actually, you know, we brought the bees here to help us get things back in balance. You know, the honeybee is an immigrant. It came from Europe. You know, we had some native bees, the mason bees. There's like 2 or 3 different bees that we also put out hives for and try to encourage them. The honeybee is one that we asked that relative to come, and we brought them in, you know, because that's what we do. We make relatives of people. That's why our name Lakota, we're allies, you know, it's what we do. And so the bees are now helping us to bring things back in balance. And so now we're able to have many of our plants come back and flourish where they weren't able to before, you know. So I think that learning is something that has to be, you have to touch and feel and smell it to really get it. You know, you have to hear it. You know, do you know what birds are in your area? Do you know what the sound of a robin is between the difference from a meadowlark? You know, do you know what the night sounds are? You know, one of the things that we have is we have the Ishnati and Wichamawampi for the young women, their coming of age ceremony. And we have an isolation location. It's aside from the 10-acre campus that we have. It's in a different location. And it's just for the women there. And we asked our sponsors and our helpers. So, you know, we just do that for our youth. And what we find is our youth are bringing back their sisters. They're inviting their friends and their cousins, and oh, I'll sponsor them. So I'll be their sponsor, you know, because 4 days, you know, it's real. And I really get it, for families to just stop the world for 4 days to do a 4-day ceremony. It's tough. So we're here to support that. So our young women have that experience. And you know what? And when aunties and grandmas and sisters can come, it just enriches it. It just enriches it, you know, and they learn what the night sounds are. They learn what the morning sounds are. And by the 4th day, they don't even need to turn to, nobody worries about the flashlight to go to the porta potty, right? Because they know they're safe, you know, and we have to feel safe again in Unchi Maka's arms. You know, how many of our kids are afraid to be outside at night, afraid of the dark? Got some adults that are afraid of the dark. I used to be afraid of the dark. We don't understand these things. And you hear this noise like, oh my God, something, something. We've watched too many horror movies, I mean, I'm a different generation. So for me, it was like The Birds, that movie, The Birds. Oh gosh, that really did a number on me. But we have to re-embrace and understand and be knowledgeable about all these different nations that come and belong here, and how we can live with them, not take over them, not rub them out, not poison them, and so much of that has been going on that a lot of them are struggling. The first thing, we hear when we hear the mainstream society talk about the natural world is how to get rid of something, how to eradicate something, how to, manage something. I think, it's the people that need to learn how to manage themselves. And if we could do that, Unchi Maka and all of our Wamakashka, all of our animal nation relatives, they would find their balance again if we just let them, if we understand what they need, and give them the space to do that. We all need our space, and knowing what healthy space is a big important thing, and so if we understand that, that's really, really important. So these social enterprises really help teach our young people how to be successful, how to be Lakota. Our honey lodge, we have a mission there. Go and read it, because all it talks about is being a good relative. There's a lot of places that have contacted us that wanted to do venom therapy. What that is to get stung by the honeybee for therapy. And there's benefit in it. I get it, there is, but it's the cost of a life. When a honeybee stings, it dies, and that's not what we're about. So we don't do that. That's not what we're about, is sacrificing a relative just for, and some therapies, it takes like 35 bees for a treatment, and that's a lot of lives lost for the benefit of one person. And we had a lengthy discussion about that. And I'm so proud of our youth. And, if we just give our youth half a chance, they have awesome, wonderful ideas. They know what needs to happen because they see what's going on. I mean, if you want to know what's going on, you ask a young person, because they see it and they hear it and they're in it, right? So, so that's why we have the honeybees. And so the very most important thing that we have is they have to have enough honey for themselves to last the winter. And last year we didn't harvest a lot of honey because they needed it. That's first, right? And then you feed your relatives first before you feed yourself, right? Okay, make sure that relative has enough. And so the same thing, and I took a course on cultural heritage tourism. That was pretty cool. I learned a lot. George Washington University provided it, and I think they're doing another course again. Look it up, it's interesting. But we decided, we had volunteer groups here, and they said, hey, you know what? People would pay to stay in your teepees. It's like, nah, nobody wants to do that. What? You're crazy. Yeah, really. And the next thing we knew, we had volunteers that helped us, and we started our next social enterprise is teepeestays.com. And so we're listed on HipCamp and Airbnb, and we're getting ready to take in tour bus groups next year. This is our prep year to get everything ready. And we're gonna hire young people. This is gonna be summer income for them to be the hostess. You know what? The best way to know something is to teach it. So when we have our young people that feel that they're ready at that level, they're gonna teach our own culture to people who wanna know. And man, that feels so good to be able to answer those questions and tell them all about being Lakota, about being Dakota, about being whoever you are. That's so empowering. And by golly, they're going to have some summer money for it to help buy their school shoes, their school clothes, whatever it is, you know, that you need. So it's another way to be successful, you know. And so I think the one thing that we know, if we follow our traditional ways of relationship, we know hospitality. We know how to take care of people. You know, when you walk in the door, you give them whatever you have. If it's a coffee, if it's a sandwich, if it's a bowl of soup, you know, give them that. Make them feel at home. Make them feel comfortable. You know, that's one thing that we, being who we are as a cultural people, we know how to take care of others and just be a good host. So those are the things that we do, you know, with Teepee Stays. So right now we have teepeestays.com and we have Honey Lodge, and Honey Lodge is growing. And we're hoping that the environment, that we can keep supporting our honeybees so that they can keep supporting us. It's a sweet deal. Hey, I got a lot of bad bee puns too. Just keep me talking. So,
I appreciate,
you know, I don't know if anyone has any questions. Clementine, is it time for questions?
Yeah, if folks have questions, there hasn't been any updates on Facebook, but hopefully some folks will add. I shared the link to Honey Lodge and shared the link to the Teepee Stays on our Facebook. And I really thank you, Marla. I really appreciate the discussion that you're sharing, especially just thinking about how we empower youth to really be proud in their identities, and that it's still a growing process, right? Even as adults, we're growing too in our understandings of who we are as Lakota people.
It's a lifetime of learning. It always has been.
Yeah. And I loved your advice about what you would tell your 15-year-old self, to ask more questions.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Yeah, we don't have any other questions. And we can, if you have anything else you would like to share, but we can also wrap up. I think you've covered a lot and shared a lot with us, so I really appreciate that.
I just want to say that, you know, if any youth are interested, just remember our age groups are from 12 to 18. We have our application on our website. You can always call us and contact us through our website. We'll do our best to stay in touch with you. We do provide some transportation, but we may have to work with you if you're from another reservation, because we do provide some transportation and stop sites on the Rosebud. So, you know, we're just, it's always a first come, first serve. And we're going to be having our chaperone training. So if you're 18 to 25, native person that wants to come and you've got some skills to share, we'd have to contact us. We're always looking for new chaperones too.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to our theater camp this summer. I'm so excited that we get to come back out and share in that making. It's very exciting.
Truly special. And so many wonderful things came from last time that I'm just really excited for the next one. And we've had a chance to talk about it. So we really got the excitement level up again.
Awesome. So I'm going to close us out on Facebook Live, but I just wanted to say thank you again, Marla. And those folks who joined us on Facebook Live, we will have this video available through Racing Magpie. So please visit our website or our Facebook page, and you please share it out with other folks who might want to know more about how to work with youth and the highlights of Lakota youth development.